Welcome, viewers, to another episode of Growth with Tacos at our newest time slot. Joining us are no special guests today, but your classic crew, myself, Pierce, Jason, and John Marco. Thanks for being here, guys. So,
good evening, everyone.
It's out of the way. GameStop.
Right? Yeah. I wish I had the mental bandwidth to follow all the little intricacies of Wall Street bets on Reddit. I'm on Reddit, but every time I see Wall Street bets, I just see it's like these adrenaline-driven trade junkies that are just doing it awesomely, apparently. But I'm not really well versed. I mean, I got the general gist of it after watching some of the Hill Rising videos. But it's essentially populism on steroids taking on the financial elite in Wall Street, to put it very simply, from what I understand of it.
I mean, that's the story that they're certainly trying to portray it as. And to be fair, I think that a lot of people are part of it for that exact reason. You know, when a company or entity, whatever person, decides to short sell a stock, they're literally betting for that company to do worse, right? So they have like a perverse incentive of actually rooting against the company, and that's just not healthy in any dynamic, right? So this has been punishing the short sellers very, very strongly. Unfortunately, though, they're not the only ones that are going to be suffering for it, because the fact is a lot of the short sellers will still end up being like mutual funds that your mom and dad's pension are invested in. And generally, I think really the only people that are benefiting from this are the people that get in early or like, you know, buy and then sell very, very shortly. I think that it is pretty much near the peak of the bubble. I don't think that it's going to keep going up a lot more personally.
Yeah, fundamentally, it's still a risk you're taking.
So this is happening too.
Say again, Jason?
What about all the other stocks this is happening to and everything like that? Like, don't you think there's a broader like possibility here, and why places like Robinhood and E-Trade have like suspended trading until they can get sorted out?
Oh, there's definitely going to be greater like ramifications from this. The last, week that we've seen this whole thing unfold is going to be taught in like business classes, hands down.
I mean, you can't do something to rich people without them punishing the hell out of you for it. So,
or at least trying. Yeah. So like, this is definitely going to have lasting impact. And I would say like, they're also trying other different stocks, right? Like Best Buy, I think, or not Best Buy, BlackBerry, Nokia, AMC, right?
Motorola.
Yeah, a bunch of different ones. I actually just learned that Blockbuster is still publicly traded.
Yes, it is.
They have a store out in Bend or South Bend or something in Oregon. I forget exactly where, out in Oregon. I knew that they weren't entirely gone, but I did not know that they were still publicly traded. They're a penny stock. And they've gone up 700%.
Yeah, that last store standing, I believe, has a strong partnership with Airbnb, and they kind of just use it to have like a Blockbuster experience. And it's kind of this like the last one standing novelty that no one wants to die out because of the novelty of it.
Hey, more power to them. Just their stock has gone up like 700%, right? I do think that there's what?
Oh, I said I own stock in a cannabis company in Los Angeles called LA Kush. I bought it like freaking 2 years ago for 25 cents a share. They suspended trading on it today because someone was trying to short it. It's up to 2,000 a share. Like last week, it was at 13 cents a share.
And now you said 2,000?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
They're fucking the things for the fun of it.
Blockbuster is up 700% Tuesday. Holy shit.
700 shit.
Yeah. Now, granted, those are penny stocks. Penny stocks are famous for moving a lot. But I think this, like, really one of the biggest takeaways, like I said, this is going to be a thing taught in, like, business school classes, going forward. The investing in the stock market is no longer gatekept by, like, institutional investors and whatnot. Now, with, just an app on your phone, you can choose to invest in the stock market. And fact of the matter is, people, just normal people, what they choose to invest in are things that they know. Tesla, Netflix, Google, Amazon, right? That's what they choose to invest in because that's what they know. Nobody chooses to invest in the company that's making elevator buttons. All right? Like, I don't know what company makes elevator buttons, but if construction is going well, then their business is going to be going well, I would assume. And construction's been going really well for the last 4 years. But you, me, and the other guy, we're not investing in that company. And it
Yeah,
used
the
to be
average Joe,
right.
just the average Joe simply doesn't have the mental capacity to research other businesses they're not familiar with. If
Exactly right.
if
So
your
it
everyday experience
changes.
is using Amazon, Costco, Publix here in Florida, it's just like that's what you know, that's what you're familiar with, and that's what you can base all of your judgments on when you're trading stocks as an average person.
Exactly. And that's changed the supply demand of the whole thing because a price for anything, whether it's a bottle of soda or a stock, is all about supply and demand, right? And the demands for these stocks is going up. And no longer is the value of that stock primarily dictated by like the fundamental value of the company, right? Like GameStop still has all the same problems that it had a week ago, except that maybe they have a little more cash now, right? Like
It's a
as
little,
far
it's
as
a
a
little
business.
more.
Right, yeah, exactly. As far as a business plan goes, though, GameStop is still screwed. They didn't just suddenly get great overnight.
Yeah, everyone just suddenly didn't start going to GameStop all over again. That just didn't happen.
Right,
It's just,
exactly.
exterior market forces, simply put, had just taken over completely in this scenario and essentially jacked up the price. And
Yeah.
it's honestly nothing short of fascinating. And from an outsider's point of view, it's just another example how the stock market has little to do with the well-being of the economy.
At the moment, yeah. Yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
example of how the stock market has nothing to do with the well-being of the economy. Absolutely right. Stock
Fun
prices
fact.
are being further and further removed from the fundamentals of like, oh, hey, this is actually a good business that is earning growth or revenue or profit. And now it is about hype and perception. If you want to make money in the stock market, you just follow the hype train or, try to be at the front of it. And the unfortunate news is people have been trying to do that for decades, and a lot of people are bad at it. Some person wins on it, and then another person loses on it. There's
Yeah,
generally
you only hear
speaking,
the success stories.
right? Somebody ends up usually holding the bag, and that's actually what we're going to see with GameStop. It's going to crash. Like it's a certainty it's going to crash. There's no way that it doesn't. And I feel sorry for people that are like buying in right now because if they're holding onto it and then it crashes, then they're out money. And a lot of those people are just going to be average Joes like you and me.
Yeah,
I had
basically,
no
if you
clue
heard about it
GameStop
on
was
the
still a thing.
news, yeah,
Go
if
ahead,
you heard about it,
John Marco.
if you heard about it on the news, it's already too late, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. If you're hearing about it on the news, it's too late, right? For sure.
Yeah,
This is why
GameStop
everyone needs
is
a Reddit
still-
account.
Yeah, GameStop is on its final breath. It doesn't change anything as a company, as you said earlier. But like when I was mentioning earlier about like it's not a metric of how the economy is doing. I remember this conversation I had with someone online, and they were saying like probably during the election at some point, they're like, oh yeah, the stock market's doing great under President Trump, and I asked very bluntly like, oh, so how is this affecting your everyday life in a positive regard? Just like have them think a little harder on it. He's like, oh, it means the economy is doing fine. Okay, yes, but how does it affect your day-to-day life? And he's like, it means we're not in a recession. And I just knew I was just hitting a wall with this person. Like, if you're like, I call it like the commute rule. Like, if your commute is not improving on a day-to-day basis, which there's not many commuting going on now, anyways, like, it's not really affecting your day-to-day life for the most regard. Like, if you have to see a substantive impact, and it ties into, of course, but not to tie into more current events, but the $2,000 checks. Where are they? We're a week into Biden's presidency. He has missed an opportunity of amazing bipartisan support off the gates. Like if they had passed the $2,000 stimulus checks literally on not even the first full day on Thursday, but like the afternoon after Warnock and Ossoff got sworn in, and just like, and they said on the Hill Rising, like prints on every newspaper, the signing ceremony where they had like Marco Rubio, who's one of the Republican senators that were supporting it, hand them a pen and then just print that on every newspaper. Like that would be like an opportunity where the government, oh my God, the government got something right. This is an immediate impact that we will feel on our everyday life.
No kidding, man.
And it's just like that affects your everyday life. Like, but it's just bipartisan support and just bipartisan support working in general. Like it's just declining by the day since Wednesday, like literally since Wednesday. Like we're just seeing a spike again in bipartisanship. Like there were some people on the right that were willing to move past Trump and work with those on the left. But now with this roller coaster of an impeachment trial going on, like I understand the law is the law. You should impeach if need be. I won't get into the whole president's aspect of it or if it's constitutional because I'm not well versed on that matter, so I won't comment. But I honestly think there's bigger things going on. Like we should be worrying about the fire right in front of us than something we're pointing fingers to for partial blame on something else right now. Like, this is, in my opinion, the last thing they should be concerned about at the current moment.
Or
shit on my side for a second. Like, the elite left wants to see Trump punished, and they're willing to sacrifice, everyone just to get their comeuppance, because it's been 40 years of just like absolute like hell for the neo-lib, and and they've just been made to look a fool by Trump and everyone else and disregarded, and they just want their comeuppance, and that comes first apparently. Like, you think Pelosi was going to pass an amendment to a stimulus check before she could impeach Trump? Hell no. Do you think Chuck Schumer's going to do the same thing? Hell no.
Yeah. But all that political theater doesn't pay people's rent, doesn't put food on the table of the millions of people struggling.
I agree with that. And I was thinking, who got everything that they wanted this election? Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi is the one that got everything she wanted this election.
I mean, I was like 16 and 17 volunteering on her thing, but at that time she had already had 20 years in office and, and stuff like that. And she was on the end of the rope there. Then, we need term limits,
She is 80 years old.
Yeah, I know. She was 60 when I was volunteering for her. I probably still have that picture of me as a teenager volunteering for her ass.
But even Ted Cruz, which I think is mostly theater, has introduced a bill to put term limits in.
Good. I don't have I don't have an overwhelmingly high opinion of the man, but I'm not afraid to be like, a good idea is a good idea, regardless of where it comes from.
Yeah, credit is where credit's due, but I think the way Andrew put it during the campaign as to how to get it passed is the most effective way of actually getting it passed. Because no one's going to vote on something if they know their job is going to affect their job immediately. If you phrase it so that every incoming member of Congress after this has term limits, then they know it's not going to affect them. So sure, they'll be able to run for re-election still as many times as they want, but there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel finally.
Yeah. And term limits are generally popular. So, it'd be a nice little quick boost in their support. It'd be an easy thing because they wouldn't be trading off anything.
First things first, though, we need $2,000 checks.
Yeah, I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. Honestly.
A standalone bill, just pass it right through. Could have been like a historic day on the first afternoon of August.
Right, just a clear, clean bill. It has bipartisan support. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet.
We're finishing the job of getting the extra $1,400. I'm like, that's not. When people heard you say in Georgia, get these two elected and $2,000 checks will go right out the door, you know exactly how they took that.
Yeah.
$2,000.
And I think I said this before on the show. I am convinced that the margin of victory in Georgia for the Senate race can be entirely attributed to Mitch McConnell blocking the $2,000 stimulus. Because people realized, oh, shoot, as you said, if I get elected, $2,000 checks will be right out the door, right? People realized that a vote for the Democrat was apparently worth $2,000. I don't even like either of the Democratic candidates, but I'm convinced that was the margin of victory. And especially so because Biden winning Georgia itself was against the populace of the state. As in, what I mean by that, the Senate candidates, the Republican Senate candidates in the primary or in the first race, they got more votes than the Democrats. Biden won Georgia because enough Republicans went, I will still keep voting for Republicans down the line, except for you, Trump. Not voting for you, Trump. I'm going to vote for Biden. But they still voted Republican for all the other guys, or at least the senators, right? Republican senators had more votes in the general election than the Democrats did. And the Democrats ended up winning it in the secondary race. That only happened because of the checks. That completely makes up the margin of victory. So why this hasn't happened already is beyond me.
It's because, like I said, Schumer and Pelosi wanted their comeuppance. That's more important to them than the people. And that's what I hate about those freaking neo-lib pieces of garbage. I mean, because those two are literal pieces of garbage.
Well,
the second most important thing I think they should pass through the Senate, though, or through Congress in general, is easy open fucking bottles. I sat here and struggled with this Lipton iced tea bottle for, I shit you not, 5 minutes and a pocket knife and had to do this to the fucking lid to get it open. An entire case like that. And I am fucking pissed. And hereby, I will no longer have Lipton iced tea, diet peach iced tea as a sponsor of this Growth with Tacos podcast. Screw you, Lipton. An entire case of 12. I'm really pissed off about this.
I could tell.
But it's still
I
really
take
good
it.
tea.
Yeah. I take it. The girlfriend's been treating you well then.
Huh?
Losing your grip strength there, right? I see John Marco laughing at the joke. Yeah.
Totally missed it because I was so lazy, but good one.
On another more optimistic note, John Marco, man, congrats on getting your Harvard little cert.
Yeah, man, that's 2 out of the 4 government classes I'm taking. It started with constitutional foundations. Thank you, by the way. Sorry. It started with constitutional foundations. I was a lot of thinking and reading. Then that was just as you saw, like bureaucracy, government structure, etc. Like I was familiar with it, but it's nice to get a formal understanding of it all instead of just reading Wikipedia articles. And up next is polling and public opinion, and then foreign and domestic policy to finish it up.
All right, good stuff. So for a dumb guy like me that thinks like, hey, yeah, I could stand to learn something new. Are these things free, or are they affordable, or like what the heck do I do to get
accessible and affordable? It's through the EDX platform started by Harvard and I think MIT as well some time ago. And so the thing is, all the courses are free to audit, meaning you can sit through every single online video lecture. It's all done at your own time. You can do all the coursework, but if you want a verified certificate, you have to pay a fee for that. And with that, there's also a certain expectation of grades and participation, of course, for you to you pass the course, etc. Not just I sat through all the lectures and didn't do any of multiple choice and then just paid for it. No, there's a certain standard when it comes to the certificate itself. And the price for the certificate varies. I think it ranges from $50 to $200 depending on the intensity of the course. So I think for those, it was $99 each. And then my programming class that I'm also taking through the same platform was like $200. But it's a very in-depth and thorough from what I've been doing so far. I'm currently learning C, which is super fun. And I used to do a lot of Excel on my corporate job. So the fundamentals of using formulas and Excels has translated and helped well when I'm learning C right now, which is very dependent on every single character you type into the keyboard, as I think Piers.
Yes. That's pretty cool though, man. Like I like that approach of basically like, here's the education. If you think it was worth money at the end, you can give us the payment for it at the very end. I think that's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah, man. And there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with just making learning more accessible. There's nothing wrong with a better educated society.
Yeah, we're in the information age. Like information is cheap today. So
I don't want to brag or anything, but I got my certificate in HTML from MySpace.
Oh, wow.
What?
If I saw that on a resume, I'd be like, I need to talk to this person.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. You got me in a box here.
I nearly spit out my beer, dude. Honestly.
MySpace Tom's got her back, man.
For sure.
What a real one, man. He didn't sell our data from what I know, at least. Made some good money and just pieced out.
Hey, he still posts random pictures on Twitter every now and then of all these cool places and hot chicks he's banging. So
I never thought of following him on Twitter. What he's up to? Let's see. Do I just search MySpace Tom?
He's a photographer now. I think is
nice, man.
Is basically what he decided to do. Yeah. Yeah, that's the cool thing, I guess. If you have all that money, right, you get to do literally whatever you want.
He's playing it smart by using his original MySpace photo for his Twitter avatar. Fantastic.
I expected nothing less.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure if you Google MySpace Tom, it's still the first picture that pops up.
Of course.
It would have to
Look at these 6 Star Wars shoes that he has. What? Oh, he hasn't posted. That was 3 years ago. He hasn't posted much on Twitter since. Okay.
Still following though.
Yeah.
All right. So what else do we got to talk about? Video games.
I might start streaming video games on weekends.
Yeah. That's right.
So I was talking to Pierce. He convinced me to get Warhammer 2 Total War. And it's a spin-off, so to speak, of the Total War series, which I got into about 10 years ago with Rome Total War. And that at the time was just like the game for me, like these huge scale armies, strategy, just playing Sparta all the time, making a phalanx and just being too OP and rolling everyone over. And then I played Medieval 2. I played various versions of the series on and off. Rome 2 had a lot of changes in the game mechanics that kind of turned me away. And I actually see a lot of the same game mechanics in Warhammer 2. But I do appreciate the mythical elements that it implements into the gameplay, because it pretty much takes, instead of having different people with different backgrounds and places across Europe, for example, like it takes different attributes based on a race of people like orcs or elves and cranks them up to 11, in my opinion. And now you have the introduction of like heroes with spells and stuff like that. So it's a good little, it's kind of like you're playing, like you're controlling the Lord of the Rings universe in a way.
Yeah,
My favorite. Oh.
The diversity between the different races in that game is just phenomenal. Honestly, that's why I think it's probably by far the best-selling Total War game yet. Because Warhammer's Warhammer's a fairly popular franchise, but like it's not that popular. Really, the game just has a lot more, I want to say, content in it than other titles. It's super impressive, honestly. I've been modding for it and all. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How did your mod? How did your campaign to get your mod back go?
So that has been resolved as of today, and unfortunately, it didn't resolve in the manner I wanted it to. But Creative Assembly. So for backstory, I made a mod called Better Sieges. Did pretty well. It's got like 10,000 subscribers. It got like 8,000 subscribers in the first week. And then there's another mod called Steel Faith Overhaul, which has like 300,000 subscribers. I'm going to guess probably like 50,000 of them are still active or something like that. It's the most popular subscriber on the entire, or mod on the entire workshop. And it's so popular that the guy's Patreon, for the guy that makes it, he lives full time on these Patreon donations. So anyway, because it's an overhaul mod, it's famous for like touching everything basically and being incompatible with other mods. Because if you're touching like the same values, then there might be a conflict. Right. So oftentimes what's needed for your mod is to like create a compatibility patch. Right. So my mod is doing pretty well. And people are asking me like, hey, is there going to be an SFO compatibility patch for it? And I say like, yeah, sure. As soon as the new version comes out. So the new version comes out a week after my mod. I made my own mod. And I look and I go, wait a second. This shit's mine. like he straight up copied me. And some values were clearly inspired as well, but some values were just straight up copied, like Control-C, like copy paste or directly imported from the pack file. So I called him out on it, and unfortunately, he elected to, rather than make a public apology admitting that he had copied it, he elected to remove the parts, the disputed material. That as of today, he elected to remove the disputed material, and then he also said, "By the way, I want you to take down your SFO compatibility patch that you made for the rest of it, because he didn't copy everything, so I made like a compatibility patch for the rest." And it was unfortunate because the compatibility patch alone already had like 2,000 subscribers, so I basically have to go to those guys and say, "Hey, out of just common courtesy, he doesn't want me to have this submod for his mod, so I'm gonna take it down." And it was kind of a shame because it was basically the everybody loses answer.
Yeah, the whole community loses.
Yes, it was the everybody.
Would rather burn that down than admit an apology. Are you serious?
Yeah.
How has the feedback been to his choice of action there?
It's been very divided because SFO fans basically were afraid that I would be like threatening the mod's existence, right? So if they're like a fan of it, then they don't want my threat to be taken seriously. Yeah. So they understandably are taking, a like, oh, it's not even a big deal approach. Pierce is just being a drama guy. And I'm thinking like, okay, this dude straight up copied me. Didn't ask for my permission or contact me in the first place, but like I totally would have been like cool with it if he just like had that common courtesy, right? Yeah. And then After I confronted him about it, he denied it. It's like, bro, I've got the evidence right here, you know. And Creative Assembly agreed with me. They were like, yeah, this is evidence. You know, it's pretty hard to deny when you're looking at the databases. So Creative Assembly said to him, hey, figure it out, you know, or we might pull you from the mod. And I guess, like I said, that's what the SFO fans were afraid would happen. And instead of deciding to, you know, take a bite of humble pie, he decided to just remove that accessibility. So it was unfortunate. I'm not gonna lie. Today's a bad day because that's not the answer I wanted. I wanted people to keep being able to play, and it's just not I guess what happened. But
no humble pie, but a sore loser smoothie. Goodness.
yeah, exactly. A sore loser smoothie.
Gosh, that is just so unfortunate, man. I'm sorry to hear that. Like,
Yeah.
I only not only feel bad for you, but just bad for everyone that's now affected by this. I'm like, oh well, a good aspect of the modification is no longer there because the guy that put it together just didn't want to be a decent human being.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
It's a
basically wanted to be Mark Zuckerberg of freaking Total Warhammer, whatever.
Yeah. So to bring this on a positive full circle. So the next part, I recently started a campaign. I just fresh off, and I'll be having my first major siege battle as a nesting I kind of have to do because I'm kind of losing money. I need more land, and I have a big army ready to go. So I'll be using Pierce's siege mod in this undertaking. So since it'll be my first walled siege experience, I will know what vanilla is like. So it's kind of like one of those things where like, well, I can't imagine life without this, hopefully. I'm assuming it's quality work, of course, based on the feedback that I've seen online.
A lot of people seem to like it, so, you know, I tend to be talented at this sort of thing.
When are you going to mod the best war game of all time, Minesweeper?
You know, Minesweeper's perfection. Wouldn't touch it. How about that?
Damn. I was hoping you could make it easier.
You can set it to be easier.
Yeah.
I'm already playing on the easiest level, John Marco. Come on.
You were part of the math campaign, man. You can do this.
Use right click. Use right click very liberally.
Yeah, man. Don't be afraid to do what you got to do to win, man. No one's watching you play. Just flag everything or question mark everything. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that. I am trying to set aside like 2 hours every weekend just to have some consistency on it. I'm just super busy throughout the week. But I think, you know, it has me thinking back to when I was really into, like, I had a lot more gaming time. I would play like Total War for hours and just be very serious about my campaign and occasionally like put on open console and make an army of 24 elephants just to have some fun. But you know, but it's going to be very interesting. I'm liking the mythical elements, the implementation of heroes with magic. I was actually almost ready to pull the trigger on the new installment, Total War 3 Kingdoms, which is based on the Three Kingdoms era of the China history. I'm not too familiar with it myself, but the main thing that drew me is that I've heard the optimization with hardware is very, very good compared to previous games in terms of the resource usage. Nice. But yeah, the Total War in general is super fun. And then sometimes when you have 10,000 units on the map, you're down to like 2 FPS depending on your system, and it's just not the funnest thing in the world.
Yeah, I basically had to build and did build a new computer to in no small part because I wanted to actually play the game as it's supposed to be played.
So I haven't had a chance to ask you, how is using that new horsepower on your game?
It's glorious. It's glorious. So my
buttery smooth.
Yeah, my old Warhammer campaign, I had it on basically like half settings or like 25% settings, like, you know, near the bottom, and I would still be getting like 17 frames per second on a good day. and now it's at like 70 frames per second, you know, at all the max settings. So it's glorious. I love it.
What are the main specs again? Like an AMD,
you know, I could tell you off the top of my head right after I build it. Right now, I don't remember. I've got two
AMD 3600 or something like that with like, is it 16 or 32 gigs of RAM?
32 gigs of RAM. Ooh, I have an M.2 solid state drive. I have a Ryzen, I think it's the top of the line 5, Ryzen 5. I forget exactly which version of it. So basically the one that came out last year. One of the better models from last year. I actually wanted a different one today or this year that came out this year, but of course, like that's all completely sold out and scalped. So took the minor bullets. It's still a major improvement from what I had before.
On the plus side, Ryzen builds are known for being backwards compatible with older generations, so you might be able to still get a newer CPU and still use the same motherboard.
Oh yeah, definitely. Although I actually ended up having. All right, so my air cooling system is like really intense. Basically, I managed to fit a cooler that should not fit in the case. That's the easy way for me to put it. So changing the CPU will be a not small undertaking. But yes, over time, I'm sure, in a couple of years, I'll probably, maybe more than a couple of years, I'll upgrade it. But it's good right now. Pretty happy with it, man.
Yeah, I'm happy with my Asus gaming laptop, and I'm gonna ride that for like as long as I can. But it's been such a powerful thing into the small package.
Yeah. What about you, Jason? You've been playing anything lately?
Nope.
No City Skylines, join us.
No, I'm not.
Pierce has been putting some hours onto it. I'm just like here, like on my classes and coding, and I see like, oh, Pierce Walker's playing City Skyline.
Dude, all right.
So a game in like so long, it's not funny.
Well, I'll take that as a good sign that other things in your life are going well and taking your time as they should be. I'm happy for it.
I can't complain too much.
I'm happy.
Well, I could complain. The worst thing that happened, aside from my back like flaring up again because I like re-injured it somehow, but like the worst thing that happened to me in probably about a month is the fact that Lipton made an entire case of Diet Peach tea that I could not open without mutilating the caps with a pocket knife. This is like, Jesus Christ. And once again, this podcast is no longer sponsored by Lipton Peach Iced Tea.
I mean, if that's your low point for the week, I'm glad everything else is going as well as I would expect then. How did it back, by the way?
It's still a little tight, and I somehow jammed it or something, and like the fracture like reopened in my like L5. My T12 is still good, so
shoot.
Yeah.
Damn.
But just means I can't like lift anything for a while still, so or at least not excessively.
Do you have one of those little grabbing sticks?
No. That's just like a level of fatness I will never hit.
I mean, more like.
I'm a pretty big guy, but that is a level of fatness I will avoid at all costs.
I mean, more so like picking stuff off the ground so you don't have to like pick it up.
No, I would rather break my back.
All right, man. Just be careful.
I will not use a grabby stick ever. Like, knock on wood that I never have to, but
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, a minor highlight of my day today was being challenged to do 100 squats by my friend. Yeah, so I did 110 just to prove that I could. All in one go,
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, my legs were a little bit wobbly afterwards.
Yeah.
Felt good.
Usually,
all the cold weather and quarantine time, it feels good to move your body,
Yeah, I felt that when I started doing my squats last week with a weighted vest. Like the next day, I'm like, oh wow, sitting is easy and falling into it completely. But yeah, wait. So, quick take, Pierce, as a more of a conservative leaning person, what would you say, if any, are the biggest thing you approve of Biden's first week in terms of? Unfortunately, a large scale of EOs, which I think ruling by EO is kind of being pushed to its limits. Even after Trump's presidency, we now have this. But what are your thoughts?
So I don't know if I'm qualified enough to have a honest opinion since I don't know everything that he's done in the first week. My number one criteria has always been being a respectable individual, being a moral leader, right? I think that matters. Some people might think like, oh, it's a policy thing, but I think that the actual impact that a president has on people's daily lives, the most influential part of it is trust. that you actually have to be able to trust your leader, right? And although I am not a Biden fan, I can certainly trust that he is an improvement over the past. So I count that, as underwhelming as that might sound, I count that as his greatest victory. The fact that he is returning a sense of respectability to the office of the presidency. Again, I'm not actually like a fan of the guy, so it's difficult for me to say, especially if I haven't been watching his decisions like a hawk. It's difficult for me to say, oh yeah, this is what I like about him.
He's not on Twitter talking about how large his dick is in the first week, so that's pretty good.
Right, it's a really, really low bar to say that as an example of something he's doing right. But yes, that is an example of something that he's doing right.
So like Trump's first week in office, like, my penis is the largest penis you have ever seen, while his small hands get closer and closer together. Like that was our American president for 4 years.
Close enough to how that happened, yeah. So I don't know. I'll ask you, Mr. More Liberal John Marco, what has Biden done over the last week that you have approved of? Oh, you weren't ready for this question? Come on.
My answer is more so the fact that anything that I approve is more overshadowed by my disappointment in the whole $2,000 thing. Like, it's hard for me to move past that right now because I just can't think of like how much of a missed opportunity that is, or that is turning into, like, by the hour at this point. Sure, I agree with the respect and decency to the office is being restored. I've been following some of his cabinet picks being confirmed by the Senate. The Secretary of State was confirmed either earlier today or yesterday. Lloyd Austin, SecDef, was approved previously. I
like his new National Security Advisor pick.
Jake Sullivan. Yeah, I have to look into him more. I read some of the Atlantic article he actually shared about him, and it's been a great read so far. Slightly lengthy. I only got through half of it, but I would say a critique of his pick so far is that I'm not liking the now repetitive nature of confirming secretaries of defense that need a congressional waiver for not being removed from the military by a sufficient amount of time. At least the initial first of the past two presidencies. I think that should give more weight. I don't think, and I'm not saying this is the case, but I don't think people should turn a blind eye because he's not Trump and let him do whatever he wants. We're in a better place. Like, I'm all for, like, you should be critical of your elected officials, especially if you actually voted for them. Not so much because you disagree with them less compared to the other person. Like, this person's decision is on your hands, literally, because you supported this. So
I'll say, as a veteran, I'm not concerned at all about that he's wanted to nominate a former military member as the Secretary of Defense. Because, so first off, Mattis was one of the best Secretary of Defenses we've had in like decades. All right. Of all the Trump failures, one good thing that Trump had was choosing Secretary of Defense James Mattis. All right. And he chose him for all the wrong reasons. He chose him because he knew that troops loved him and that Mattis basically had like a cult following around him. But there's a reason why Mattis had that support. And that's because it was very clear that he understood the jobs and duties of the military, as well as having the personal approach of knowing that human lives are what matters, in both the sense of human lives that need to be preserved, and both sometimes that human lives that need to be ended and terminated, right? And that distinct knowledge guided pretty much all of his actions, and you can see it. And he was a phenomenal Secretary of Defense. And it's unfortunate that he ultimately decided that his disagreements with how we treated our allies was too much to bear, and that he had to resign. It was very, very unfortunate. But anyway, Mattis,
we have, like, just interject. I don't disagree that we nominate past members. I'm more so not completely agreeing with the fact that we are closing the window of the 7-year requirement for them to be out of service and requiring that congressional waiver.
Right. I guess what I was going to say is, like, the world moves faster today. And also when our founding fathers came up with the idea of, oh, hey, we don't want the Secretary of Defense to be led by a military man. That was because, generally speaking, whenever like a coup happened, it was by the military being conducted, or like, you know, a government being overthrown, aside from the United States of America itself, was done via like internal military, you know? And they didn't want to lend more power, I think, to that having happened. I believe that was like the origin of the intent behind it. And today, our military is so large, our country is so large, that when you get up to that level, like you're an administrator, like you're not ever going to be carrying a rifle. You're not going to the shooting range, right? You are an administrator at that point. You are effectively like a civilian, just you're a civilian tasked with military duties and responsibilities. And I would say that those people are exactly the kind of people that you actually want to have as Secretary of Defense, because they understand what the requirements are, and because they've also gone through the experience from earlier days when they were not, you know, at the top of the food chain, right? I think that our military is far too important to have a, quite frankly, inexperienced or inadequate Secretary of Defense. That's not to say that you have to be in the military to be a experienced or adequate Secretary of Defense, but that it's an incredibly important role. And I think by and large, the best people to fill that role are likely going to be veterans. So, and again, veterans probably that have served recently, because they understand the more current day conflicts that the military is both trying to prevent as well as respond to. So that's kind of my opinion on it.
No, I agree. What are your thoughts on the length required of not having a congressional waiver to 7 years out of active duty? You think that's too long?
I think with as quickly as the military like evolves, like 3 or 4 years would be adequate enough, right? In my opinion. Like
I mean, I'm saying
half,
that I'm fine with that waiver being completely eliminated, or markedly that the 7-year mark being completely eliminated. I think that in today's society, it's not necessary. I think it was created with good intent, and I think that the law was fairly relevant when it was created. I just don't think that it is very relevant now. Now, we have the waiver process right now, so I don't think that it needs to be repealed, because we can just use waivers to push through. But I am also okay conceptually with a waiver for it becoming the new normal. Because like I said, I think by and large, your best applicants in aggregate are going to be coming from that population pool.
Yeah. Excuse me. I don't disagree, but just a point of reference. I think you're talking about I think the notion of not having someone that's relatively new active duty wasn't formed during the formation of the country. I think it was more around the World War II era that there was more civilian control of the military, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to research it, but I think
I could be wrong.
I think the whole Secretary of Defense being removed from active duty for 7 years was a comparatively modern development in terms of the past 50 years instead of the founding of the country. But I'll have to look into it. But I mean,
this would make sense considering that the Secretary of Defense wasn't founded until 1947. So, or I mean, the Department of Defense wasn't called the Department of Defense until 1947.
Department of War.
Right. So, but I assumed that was something still that carried over from before. So, I can admit not knowing. Sense. Yeah, I can admit not knowing the answer to your question.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, in terms of something I liked about Biden, then going back to that.
Yeah.
Oh, if I had to pick one, him ordering the DOJ to stop contracts with private prisons. I think that's a very, very good thing. I understand it's a comparative drop in the bucket because a lot of the private prison incarceration is on the state level. But I think in any regard, having any incentive to have a certain number of cells filled is very bad for society.
Hey, if I was keen for a day, private prisons is one of the things I would end. All right. It's a very simple thing that you can end that should be ended. So, yeah, I'm all right with that. Absolutely all right with that.
What about you, Jason? Any agreements or criticisms about his first week?
The 100-day mass challenge, is kind of cool. Because I think it's more symbolic at this point than anything, because you can pretty much catch COVID in major cities just by going out and breathing, because it's like so thick and so heavy, just as far as like
what are you talking
being
about?
able to be effective.
No, like in all seriousness, that sounds like bullshit.
I know he signed in an executive order of a 100-day mass challenge.
Oh, no,
Like,
no, no, not the 100-day mask challenge. Just that by being outside, you're likely to catch COVID. That is like absolutely bullshit.
It's just, it looks that way, man. Have you seen the infection rates in major cities at how they're peaking and everything? Like,
Yeah,
dude,
that's
like,
because of population density. When people live in apartment complexes in close proximity to each other.
yeah,
Like,
I know.
that's
Like
the
you could like
correlation.
literally
Right.
catch it from your neighbor who's across the hall without even interacting with them. At
Yeah,
this
but
point.
when you're outside when there's wind blowing, that is exponentially safer than being indoors in any regard.
Right, exactly.
You're going from a confined space to an open space.
Okay, outside your dwelling, if it's in an apartment, like if you're going outside your apartment door even to get the mail, which is in your apartment building, like it's just, I just think it's cool that like he's actually taking, he actually took a stand to take it seriously, and even though it's just cosmetic and everything at this point, it's still pretty cool, because
it's not cosmetic. I mean, like I'm a guy that totally chafed at the idea of being mandated to wear masks, and I do think that I don't agree with the government decision. Generally speaking, it's been most states, but like the state's decision to mandate that you wear a mask, I don't agree with that. But I do think wearing a mask is a good idea, right? So a little conflicted on that one.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
and it's not like the mask like prevents you from getting infected. It's just if you happen to be carrying the viral load, like it prevents you from infecting other people. The mask is more
Right.
you protecting the people you love or the people that you're around than anything else.
Right.
And the responsibility of that is something I've always taken pretty seriously. So I think that's like pretty cool. Like just rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement is,
So fun fact that I get to share with you guys on that. So we have been one of the best nations to actually be following the environmental carbon dioxide reductions and whatnot within the Paris Accords without actually being part of the Paris Accords. Just a fun little fact for you guys. And Trump definitely does not get credit for this, by the way.
Does that have anything to do with the fact that on a state level where there was lockdowns, just commute just crashed everywhere and there was a lot less car usage, among other things?
So yes, that has like skyrocketed our compliance, of course. But before that, even the general trend in the United States of America was of greener tech, greener emissions, and you name it, right? And that's just because that's what people wanted. So therefore, the dollars have started to shift and go that direction. It just makes more business sense to do that, right? Trump gets no credit for this at all. I just want to throw out to the world that, believe it or not, we have been better at following the Paris Accords than the other nations, despite not being part of the Paris Accords. Just wanted to throw that out there.
It's like we're supposed to be in it to set the bar. That's the point of it, Like we're supposed to be the leaders of it. By removing ourselves from it and everything, it was just like a signal to the world, hey, the US doesn't care, so why should we?
Right. So we talked about this when Bronston was on the podcast, right? And we mentioned how the Paris Accords don't really have any sort of enforcement mechanism at all. So it's really just a bunch of nations chest thumping and going like, yeah, we'll totally do the right thing because it's the right thing, right? And most of them not.
But no one's going to do it unless they see America do it first.
Well,
not even so much that. No one's gonna do it if there's no consequences to not doing it.
Well, I mean, we have been actually. That's kind of what I was getting at, and that's just because our capitalist structure realized that like this is the way that we should make things, and that only happens as well because the people, you, me, other people decided like, oh hey, yeah, I actually support this company making a green effort. I support them having less pollution. It's because we told all the companies, hey, I would rather that you have less, pollution. And because of that, the companies go like, oh, well, yeah, we still want your money.
Yeah.
What?
And with us being a giant exporter and reseller of all the goods from around the world, us doing that and stuff like that, it gives more green to the rest of the world. And,
That's true.
And larger countries followed our suit while we were in it. Britain cut theirs, France cut theirs, Italy, Canada. Well, Canada's pretty much always been pretty green, but, their emissions even went down. I mean, Mexico's emissions went down during the time period that we were in it and stuff. So, I mean, we set the example, we set the bar.
Yeah, I remember in 2009, we were actually literally the only nation that had met the Paris Accord reductions, the reduction goals. Literally
Yeah,
the single nation.
And then the next year we said, hey, if we can do it, everyone can do it. And people started to take it seriously because we did it, you know? Like everyone's all for it just being chest thumping and all this other stuff.
I think, unfortunately, you might be overestimating the other nation's compliance as a whole. But all in all, good idea. Maybe not the best execution, but good idea, better than nothing, right? And I am glad that at least, even though it's only a symbolic nature, it's just symbolism, at least we are trying to revalue that symbolism. Because I'm of the opinion that like environmental conservatism is a conservative opinion. Like, honest to God, hold the presses here, right? Because, like, think about it. You know what's more expensive than, say, reducing greenhouse emissions in the first place and going through the steps to make your own pollution contribution smaller? Fixing the effects of it, whether it's sewage cleanup or waste cleanup or just, oh shit, the oceans rose, so therefore we need to build all these new dams or relocate settlements or whatever. Like, that stuff's expensive. We want to save money. Prevention is better than the cure or fixing or responding or whatever, right? It's better to be proactive than reactive. I am fully of the opinion that this is a conservative opinion, and it's unfortunate that it's become like so politicized as somehow a liberal opinion. Like, that doesn't, I don't think it is fundamentally. It's just good financial sense as a whole. At least as a community, it's good financial sense. As an individual, you might have your own business incentive to not do it. But if the incentive is like shared for everyone, like if it's an even playing field, then like it's just good business sense. So I can't literally say I'm all for environmental regulations because like a lot of them that I've seen have been whack. But like in concept, I'm for environmental regulations. I think that a lot of them have a good place and a good function and good value. Nobody wants to breathe polluted air and smog and all that, right? Like, this is common sense, people.
Yeah.
Give you an example of one I don't agree with. California, smelt fish, all right? You have millions of gallons of water that is literally unusable because, oh no, we have to protect the smelt fish in the pipes because they decided to start living in the pipes. I don't give a shit about the smelt fish. Sorry.
What is a smelt fish?
What?
What the hell is a smelt fish?
Exactly. So that's an example of one that I've seen as bullshit, all right?
Yeah.
I like people.
Edible,
people are good. People.
I love California, and I'm a proud California native. But there's some things I don't agree with that our state is all about, like the whole plastic straw ban. It killed one turtle. One fucking turtle. That is on record of being killed by a plastic straw gets stuck in the nose, and we have to ban all plastic straws.
No. Even
now
worse,
they give you this cardboard shit that you put in your drink and it just fucking disintegrates and you've got nothing but a fucking giant piece of cardboard in the bottom of your drink. Like, what the fuck?
Okay. I don't have strong opinions on the plastic straw ban. I guess it's maybe a bit of government overreach, but like I'm not overly attached to plastic straws, so I don't have strong opinions on that, aside from the fact that I do think it's government overreach. But besides that, I want to say an even bit of like one-uppance on that is how California banned plastic disposable bags. All right. So what happened, and I predicted would happen, was guess what? Now they're recyclable plastic bags. All right. They're thicker. They are way harder to decompose and whatnot. But people use them just as if they were plastic disposable bags, except they're not disposable. They're recyclable. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So in other words, it just actually made the problem worse. Like, way worse. And I knew that this would happen. Because the fact of the matter is, not everybody's going to bring, like, a duffel tote bag or whatever whenever they decide to go shopping. People are still going to want you to have the bags for them so they don't have to carry everything. Like, you're not going to fight against that.
You're freaking paying 25 cents for them at Ralph's as it is. So, you might as well be allowed to throw them away.
To a lot of people.
I know.
All right, that's
not
what
I'm saying. No, my thought process is if you have to pay 25 fucking cents for them, you should be allowed to destroy the environment because you fucking paid 25 cents for it. Let them fucking destroy the environment.
That is a toxic, everyone loses mentality. But I get it.
Just like I would pay an extra 10 cents for a goddamn plastic straw, just not have a clump of fucking cardboard in the bottom of my goddamn freaking iced tea.
What if your Snapple iced teas came with straws, so you didn't have to unscrew the cap?
Or if they had like a sucky thing on the end that you just, like a bottle, that'd be so freaking cool because it would totally just like get rid of spillage.
Yeah.
God, being a baby must have been sweet. You never had to like worry about spilling anything. You just had to worry about regurgitating it.
Well, these are definitely some first world problems, and I think we can count ourselves fortunate to have those as problems.
Oh, by the way, as we're winding down here, once again, I want to point out Lipton no longer sponsors this damn podcast because they suck at making fucking unscrewable caps, and I will be pissed about this for weeks to come. And you'll find out in other episodes that I still bitch about it.
Your day is ruined and your sadness is immeasurable.
You freaking watched me here for 5 minutes with a pocket knife on the pre-show trying to open it.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, what the heck are you doing? That's true. All right, well, ladies,
I need my Nacrin sugar substitute fix, Jeez.
You don't have to buy it, bro. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Growth with Tacos. Yet again, another episode traditionally without tacos and instead beer. But thank you all.
And no longer sponsored by Lipton.
And no longer sponsored by Lipton Iced Tea. Yep. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We hope you're having a good day. Don't buy GameStop. You're just asking to get yourself hurt. And
if you heard about it in the news, it's too late. If you heard about it here, you're way past too late.
Yeah.
Don't buy Lipton Iced Tea.
Be good in the world, everybody. I believe what you do makes a difference, and I value you. So take care, everyone.
Take care.